Hi, my name is Ingrid Blackburn, and today we're going to create a mixed media Christmas tag. Here you see a really cool tag that has a lot of great detail and character to it, and I'm going to show you exactly how I went about to create this. This is the first intentional mixed media piece that I've ever created. So I started with a basic piece of cardstock. It's a quarter panel where I actually took the corners off, and all the measurements and colors and everything is on my blog, so feel free to check that out. There's a link below this video for you. And I have also a link that I'm going to put up here in the upper left hand corner, and this is for a video on how I actually did this vintage antique background. I did this in a previous project, and so I have a great step-by-step video tutorial on that, so be sure to check that out if you're unsure of all the various steps. So here you'll see the finished product, and it took 3 different colors to get this, and it's, you know, using distress inks you can really create some amazing things. Right here I have a fun little stencil by Stamplerations. I've gone ahead and secured both my work piece down and my stencil, and we're going to now come back over this with antique linen. And antique linen is a good neutral color by Ranger. I love this distress ink, and basically we used antique linen when we created the background, so now we're just going to create another layer of it. And every place where there's a gap within the stencil, that's where you're going to actually see the negative image of the word. So you can see by just lifting that up, it's got a really cool look to it. So we're going to continue to layer down a little bit of this neutral color before moving on to a little bit of vintage photo. So now we're going to add a little bit of a darker color, and we're going to use Vintage Photo, which is a nice warm brown, and we're just going to lightly layer a little bit of this on top of the antique linen, blending the two together. And you know, the real purpose here is just to create a little bit of a darker layer. I want to be able to see the words a little bit better than what you see right there. So we're just going to put that back down, and we're just, like I said, create a very light layer. We just really want this to blend with the antique linen. And I'm just kind of adding it in some spots here and there, you know, not really pushing down too hard, because you don't want to overpower the whole tag. And look at that. See what a difference that made? All the difference in the world. You can really kind of see that stencil now, and that's kind of a fun background. Now we're going to quickly zap this with a heat tool, and I'm going to do most of this off camera, but you don't want to necessarily hit it completely. You know, it's okay if it doesn't dry. Here I've gone ahead and dipped it into some gold embossing powder, and this was really supposed to be a test, and some of it kind of stuck. I was testing to see if it was completely dry, and I realized, you know what, this is kind of cool. I kind of like this. I like how it's just kind of grabbing certain areas. So I decided to go with it, and I heat set this at this point. So, you know, this is part of like mixed media. Mixed media to me is not really, you know, perfect. It has that character and that fun. So now I started to layer other things. So this is going to be our Christmas tree, and this is the Christmas tree stencil by Stamplerations. Using the Versamark pad, just kind of smashing it through the stencil, wanting to just get the tree there. And then we're going to go ahead and dip this into some early espresso embossing powder by Stampin' Up. And I love that really rich, dark brown powder. So we're creating kind of a neutral looking Christmas tag, and that's kind of the direction that I was going in. So now that we have some really great interest already going on our tag with our stencils, as well as some of the distress inks that we've sponged, we're going to add a little bit of bundled sage. And bundled sage is a nice muted green, and we're going to kind of add this in random spots around our tag. And once we're done with that, we're going to add a little bit of green over the brown Christmas tree that we just created. Now I did heat set that tree off camera. I know you didn't get a chance to see that, but I was trying to keep this video a little shorter, so I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, and I'll let you know when I've done something off camera. So now we're grabbing a little bit of peeled paint, and peeled paint is really my favorite distress green. I love this color. It's a very earthy green, and this makes a beautiful Christmas tree color. So we have some little bit of sponging going on over the brown baubles, And the baubles are kind of meant in my head like ornaments. Of course, they could signify the tree on their own, but I wanted to kind of add that little green background to it. And I'm also bringing a little bit throughout the tag. And, you know, it's funny because the tag really isn't green when you look at it, the final project. It's just kind of one of those layers, and we're just layering color after color after color, and that's kind of a little bit what mixed media is all about. It's about, you know, adding different layers and textures and kind of creating something that's artistic and unique. So I like to assess what I'm doing, so you'll see me stop and look at my project a lot. I think it's important to kind of stand back and, you know, kind of reassess, okay, where am I going? What direction am I going in? What am I doing? So you'll see me do that a lot in my videos. Now that we have that added, I went ahead also and brought in a little bit more neutral. I was getting a little too green, so I brought a little bit of the antique linen in again, and now you see me adding a little bit more scattered straw. I was trying to brighten it up a little bit again, and this is also a great thing to do after you've gone ahead and created a layer with the stencil, is to come back in with the same colors. And you know, you're going to kind of intensify the negative space, but you're also going to add some interest to the areas that you stenciled. So here we're going to zoom in so that you can see this up close, and you can see we have a lot going on. You can see some of that gold embossing in the negative spaces there, and kind of grabbing onto the edge of the tag as well. And we're going to now dip this into our gold embossing powder. And you can see we have some other little spots that have kind of grabbed on. It was really more testing to see if it was really dry, because I had dried it off camera in between. But you know, that seemed to be the theme for this project. So now I have this great poinsettia stamp, and this is actually a retired stamp by Stampin' Up, but you can grab any large poinsettia stamp that you have. Ellen Hudson has a beautiful poinsettia stamp for this Christmas, you know, but you know, I can only use so many poinsettia stamps, so I like this one, so I just wanted something big and large and vibrant, and I have that in the corner. I'm adding some embossing powder here, and it kind of attached itself to areas, and that's what I'm pointing out here, areas that I originally didn't really intend to have embossing powder, but I decided, you know what, let's go with it. So I went ahead and heat set that. You know, that's just going to add some interest there. I'm really loving how we have this random embossing powder going on. I love the gold over the brown, and this is looking really great, but I really want this to be a little red, and it's going to be kind of tricky because we have some green and some yellow underneath. So we'll kind of see how our blending goes. I kind of tested it out on a piece of scrap paper just to make sure. I kind of created that same finish just to make sure that the red would blend with it, and it seemed to turn it a little bit peach, kind of a rosé-ish color, which will work for me. So I need to place this over. So I created a mask, and what I did was I had to kind of cut into my flower a little so that I could make sure that I have the frame here. I kind of nicked it a little, but that's all right. It's no big deal. And then I'm going to take a little bit of tape just to secure this, or actually maybe some Post-it notes to really secure this down. And I'm going to start off with some Festive Berries and then kind of moved into Fired Brick. So Festive Berries is a light red, and we'll just kind of tap this off because I had gone into a different color first. And I'm just going to lightly come over, and I'm just going to kind of get in here on the leaves. And this little piece that I nicked, I'm going to have to hold and kind of maybe pounce around it a little. Because my mask is super thin, it's just a piece of copy paper, and with these kind of like little points, I just have to be careful that I'm always kind of coming from behind. If I come up this way, I'm going to bend them backwards, and that's not really what I want to do. So let's just kind of, a little careful here. And I'm really digging this. This is kind of that rose-colored poinsettias that you find. And I don't usually purchase them. I happen to like the really bright, vibrant red ones, but I wasn't really thinking about adding a poinsettia stamp when I started my project. I'm actually kind of digging that color, and I don't think that I'm gonna actually make it darker. I think I like the duskiness of it. So I really love how that turned out. It's got that nice, pretty color. I'm really impressed that I was able to create that color on top of the yellow, and you can't really even see the words and stuff throughout it, and I love how some of that gold embossing powder stuck. I knew that would work to my advantage. Here, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mask our flower, and I'm gonna take this mask that really has been kind of torn and doesn't really work, if I can find it here. There we go. Because what I want to do is I want to add a couple of leaves. So we're going to add some leaves here, and then we're going to color those nice green. I want a nice big leaf here, and then I'll have one here, and that'll be enough. And then from there we'll work on finishing up our tag. So I'm not going to worry about whether or not powder is going to stick, because at this point anything is going to work, because this is not a project where I need it to be completely perfect, you know. And so I have a small leaf there, and I want a larger leaf here. So I'll add that. There we go. Lift that back up. And for our leaves, we're going to use the gold again. So we're going to come in here, grab some of that. Now, okay, because you might have even seen this on the video and went, no, make sure you dry your poinsettia. I forgot to dry my poinsettia. But that's okay, because what we'll do is we'll come over it with a brush, and we'll just kind of brush all that away. So I have kind of this cheapy, and I don't need to really worry about this image, because this image is all done. I'm just going to be careful around my leaf, just so that I don't take any of the powder away from my leaf. But, you know, it just goes to show you, I get a little too excited sometimes, and I don't think. I'm sure you've all done that too. Now, if any of that powder stayed behind, I'm not going to worry about it, because that's just going to actually add to the look, because we kind of have this whole grunge kind of powdery thing going on. So let me heat set this, and I'll be right back. So now that that's heat set, I am going to take this same mask, and we'll just cover this guy up right here. And I have this mask that I just created by just stamping that leaf image, and I want to secure my other mask down also, make sure that it's not going anywhere. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the peeled paint, which I love peeled paint. If you've ever seen me do anything, you know that I love this color. I use this color a lot. And we just want to get a nice green going on here, and I think I'm probably gonna bring in some forest moss also and maybe darken this up a little, but I'd rather start with the lighter one and move to darker, because you can't really go the other direction. And let's get this a little more vibrant. It's looking pretty cool. Oh, that's nice. I like that. I think we're gonna leave it this way, because you know why? It's kind of like a muted green, and that really looks good with the kind of rose color that we created. Now this is looking really cool. So I think what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna add some of the vintage photo on the edge, and some of the espresso as well. We'll start with the vintage photo. I want to give this kind of a little bit more of a antique distressed look. So we'll just kind of sponge this all the way around. And note that I'm keeping this off again, just like our other video in how to create the antique or vintage look for your backgrounds. You know, I showed how to do this as well, and you really want to keep your sponge off your project, because the goal isn't really to add a ton of brown to it, which we've added more than I actually would like. But the reason we did that was because I'm going to now move on to ground espresso and take this to a deeper level right at the edge. So again, I want to keep this even more off my project and just really hit the edge, so that we have that kind of warm going into dark. Love that. That looks good. You can also use walnut stain. That's another great color to edge with, and use the vintage photo and then move into the walnut stain. So pretty. Very, very pretty. Love it. So I've taken some water and I just put some ink down. I just smashed my ground espresso pad down on my craft mat, and I'm just gonna kind of tap this just to kind of get some of that color there. Need a lot of the water there. There we go. And that's just a really nice added look. And I'm going to quickly dry that so that it doesn't pull the water or pull the color from underneath. I want it to leave that pretty brown, which is faded a little bit with some of them, which is fine. So now that I have all that complete, I really love everything that's going on. I have the word joy, and this is just a steel, this is the handwritten holiday by W+9. It just says Merry and Joy, and love that die. And I went ahead and colored some just regular paper with the festive berries and a little bit of fire brick, and then I cut it out and ended up adding some Versamark on top of it and some clear embossing powder just to give it that kind of shine. And now we're gonna just glue this to here, add a little bit of ribbon, and we're all done. So to complete our project, I have some of the Cherry Cobbler seam binding ribbon by Stampin' Up! And some gold cord, and I'm just gonna fold that in half. Fold this in half like this, and then just kind of bring that over to create a little point. You're gonna bring it from the back through the front, and then you have this little loop right here, and you'll bring your tails right through your loop. And then you're just gonna pull it taut, and there we have an awesome tag. I hope you enjoyed this tag. I certainly enjoyed making this. This was really a fun project. It kind of stretched me a little bit, and I'm looking forward to designing more mixed media pieces in the future. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and definitely subscribe to the channel. If you want to see some more exclusive content, be sure to go to my blog. You can access it right here, and from there you can sign up for a Creative Tips e-letter. You'll get a video series that is exclusive, as well as my upcoming 12 Days of Christmas. So I look forward to seeing you there, and keep those fingers inky. See you next time. Bye-bye.